What up, random rockers? Where my dungeon attire? It's Halloween, and in case you haven't heard my review, which that I was gonna do as a short, but I guess it's just on Instagram. Link in the description below. Pure Evil by Puppy. Nice recommendation of what's come out this year that I would say would be good for your, campy spooks. For stuff like that. If you want to see my thoughts on that, go to my Instagram. Links should be in the description below, as usual. That we'll be talking about these four particular albums that just came out this week. There kind of was another, but I didn't finish it, and I'm not sure I really want to talk about it. Plus, it's a newer band, so I don't know if they really need the bad traction. So I'm not going to talk about that one. But what I am going to talk about are four particularly pretty solid albums from this week that capped off this month of October pretty well. Starting with Fire from the Gods, Soul Revolution. Yes, this is a band I've known about for years. For some reason, it took this single, and more specifically, 1,000 Lifetimes, for me to finally be like, you know what, maybe you should give them a chance. They have this Seven Dust meets like a POD thing going on. Turns out a lot more than just POD, possibly some Hippie and Skindred, or any of the more reggae, rap rock, nu metal-ish type acts, with mixed in with a little R&B-ish elements, some more modern hip-hop as well. Of the more modern rap metal, nu metal type acts, these guys are definitely. It took that for those recent two singles for me to finally be like, you know what, I'll finally give them a chance. And yeah, this was my selling point, guys. I'd say yeah. I don't know if this is necessarily their best. I've not checked their other stuff out, but I've enjoyed this and 1,000 Lifetimes for sure. Those are sadly for me mostly my highlights to me. I mean, Double-Edged Sword is definitely good. Double-Edged Sword definitely was one I liked. Be Free's not bad. I get what they were doing with the message, and the closing title track does pretty well to end this. Love is Dangerous is sort of closer to a ballad, and Waltz or Cold seem to be more in my field to me. But 1,000 Lifetimes and like SOS to me are still like the highlights of this record. I understood why they chose them as singles, I guess. They were the easiest to kind of digest, I guess, of the record. So, for what it is. The other tracks to me do feel a little more hip-hop oriented, which is where I think some of the audience that I normally don't have, hopefully they would dig this record, you know? There are some trappy elements, but nothing too, but not like overbearing, or else I'd have checked out immediately. But, yeah, I like this record. Don't know if I'll go back to it a whole lot, but I'm not going to sit here and say it's not good. It's just, I think it's just more that some of it's not for me, I think. Since I'm not as into hip-hop as I used to be, I have my moments with old school stuff, but, it is what it is. As far as this album is concerned, from Fire of the Gods, Soul Revolution. I guess it just looks like it could be civil, given the way it's kind of, if you're not looking at it close and well enough. But yeah. Overall, guys, you know what? Thumbs up, guys. Thumbs up. One of these bad boys. Yeah. And then you can put that as my new high thing with that. But anyways. That's what oh, gods, you did well. For first impressions for me, you did well. Maybe not for some fans. I don't know. Just saying, hopefully. But, yeah. Yeah. Moving on to Dead Cross 2. The sophomore effort single album from this supergroup Dead Cross, consisting of Mike Patton, Dave Lombardo of Slayer fame, Mike Patton, of course, of Mr. Bungle, Faith No More fame, to some people, Tomahawk, and why am I blanking on the other band that he... Venomous. More so or less. What's anything else you should think of with them? And it's Small Tinny with Dillinger. We'll go with that. That essentially affected the band, and honestly, I think made the band better off for it. Once Greg joined and knew how to balance between where they started and what Patton gave them, you know. But anyways, neither here nor there. But Dead Cross is more of like Patton wasn't initially part of the band. It was essentially just a project Lombardo was doing as a hardcore punk thing, and then the original vocalist, whoever he was, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, he left and Patton filled in, and once Patton filled in, everyone started coming on board with this thing. And it just kind of became another one of those Patton projects essentially. Though luckily, it's still, you can tell Dave Lombardo still plays a part in saying, no, we're still sticking with being a hardcore and this type of band. He's like, okay, fine. I'll just do crazy, gnarly shit. And even though technically you would think this would almost border into grindcore, given, you know, his weird vocal style that Patton's known for and shit. But it's... there's a lot of political elements to it. Christian Missile Crisis, obviously, dealing with heart is the back of God's head, split open, it has been bled. I can't doubt I watch man selling out. I'm not the creep that you know I've let you borrow. Watch me paint it black and fucking take it back. Birth of manic and blame it. Give me negative feedback, reverse soundtrack. Here's to an ugly heart attack. I'll place a bet you can't hear death's backing track. Time to crack. All out of ammo. Act as a... Just some of these lines, of course, are like ridiculous. Like, all out of ammo, act as a dildo. Write your manifesto, embryo political. Heave ho, time to let it go. Pinch. Chwee. Stop. Of course, the latter half of these lyrics to, like, Christian Missile Crisis, just, wow. And it's pretty manic from what you've heard so far that I've played. And, of course, Reign of Error, which from what the video kind of states is, I guess, dealing with the current, I guess was sort of recently dealing with the current state of things that happened with the whole pro-choice situation of sorts. With the whole Supreme Court situation. Heart reformer, I guess, dealing with how organ donors are, I guess, from what it sounds like. And all sorts. I don't know if I like this as much. I wouldn't say it's a sophomore slump, though, because a lot of people are talking good on this. I understand why they are. If you're looking for that more old school punkish thing, because it's currently more of a punky, a crossover thrash, heavy hardcore style that they're going for here. Currently focusing on that and the political agendas that they do have. All of which are pretty good, in my opinion. Overall, I'll just say thumbs up for now. Potentially that, but I don't know if I'll sit with it long enough to... For sure, if I'm in the mood, maybe. But so far they're... Screw it, they're 2 for 2. We'll go with that. Just, you know, I'll definitely see if they're Dead Cross. I'll look forward to Dead Cross 3 if that ever happens. Yeah. And you could tell they're peeved off. There was a lot that went on from pandemic and all the other stuff. So, yeah, you could tell there was something there. And I wasn't sure with Reign of Error because sonically I felt like they weren't really doing too much, but given what they are supposed to be doing, they're sticking with it. And I think this time around they actually stuck with being more of a straightforward hardcore and crossover thrash style of a band as opposed to venturing into the other territories that of experimentation that usually Patton would do. Which I almost kind of applaud them that he didn't go that crazy, that he let his manicness be more in his vocal delivery and some of his lyricism than his other stuff. So there's that, I guess. If you like that, and definitely with those elements being more punk lenient, you know, then yeah, I think you guys like this record. Fall Show. Moving on to Demon Hunter Exile. Of course I was going to cover this album. I didn't do the other thing, Deconstruction, because that really was just a compilation of like a more acoustic slash string arrangement style of other past songs, so I didn't really count that as like an album. So, but this I can. So, and apparently I got enough attraction at the time before the algorithm from YouTube decided to be stupid, and apparently Demon Hunter liked what I had to say about the double albums, actually. And also, this is, I think, an alternative album cover, possibly for a deluxe edition or just vinyls, as opposed to the initial one that is right here. This is the alternative cover, if you can make it out from my phone. But yes, which I don't know what's cooler. I found to say this one's cooler, but I don't know, maybe the other one is. It's up to you, if you're a collector. But yeah, Defense Mechanism that starts off this record with Max Cavalera. Initially, I didn't like it, but I feel like I like that it's the opener for this record, honestly. And Master, which Ryan Clark did a straight vocal take on, which wasn't bad. I'm not going to compare it, though, to Courtney LaPlante for what she does for Spirit Box when she does that, but, you know, that she set a high bar, I'm just saying. The follow-up track, Silence the World, featuring Thomas England of Evergrey. Y'all know what my first impressions were of Evergrey a while back. I believe I did to talk about them in a previous week thing. But yeah, that's fine. Heaven Don't Cry, as far as I'm concerned, Chemicals is fine. I mean, some of them are just fine. They do this, I wouldn't say there's so much filler, but they do serve, I guess, their own little purpose, I guess. Godless, which features Richie Faulkner of Judas Priest. You could definitely tell his solos are in here. It's pretty nice. Was it Chemicals or Revolutions or Praise the Void? I think it might have been Praise the Void. Or another place. I feel like the time from Silence the World must have come out before that, when they recorded it, maybe. Because I hear like some of what Tom S. England is doing vocally with his cleans might have affected the band. Might have affected Ryan Clark's vocals takes on a couple. Might have been fresh off of that, and he hearing his stuff, and he decided to bring some of that influence in with a couple tracks there. On the way, it's not a bad closer, I guess. But overall, I mean, I don't know if I like this more than the last double album thing, personally. I still think that might be their best. But what we got here definitely had some highlights going on, for sure. Illusions was a decent single, too, and the Godless with Richie Faulkner is definitely something to check out. They did use most of their features well. Most notably to me would be Silence the World. World with Thomas England. His vocals definitely come in and are very well utilized. And if for some reason some of you more Christian metalheads, you aren't aware of the other more secular type bands and want to see if they're worth getting into, well, Evergrey is definitely one you should, I'd say. And yeah, overall, guys, I don't have as much I should say that I need to say all this in depth as I used to be, I guess, when I had my, but, so I apologize to the band if they were expecting something more like that. Regardless, guys, I like it. I don't know if I could say I love it yet. I might need more time. I don't know if there'll be enough time to even become close to album of the year. Heck, they probably didn't want to even talk to me because I didn't even put it in my album of the year list because, well, Baroness, despite production issues, managed to beat out those two records. Somehow. But I think I like this record. And if you're a Demon Hunter fan, I think you'll be pleased. So, for those Demon Hunter fans, sure, horns up. I'll give you that. But personally, to me, it's really more a thumbs up. I like it more than I even initially thought going into it, if that even says anything, because I felt sort of underwhelmed because of how I was, and then the album kind of showed better, which was nice. It was pleasant. It was a very pleasant, nice thing to see. So, but yeah, if you're a Demon Hunter fan, I think you'll be pleased. If you're not, I don't know what to tell you. Except maybe some of the tracks I mentioned that were features are probably worth your time. Huh? Master's not bad. I believe it's Praise the Void is the one that had the vocal thing. I need to double check on that later, but don't entirely quote me. But yeah, I still need to check out the bonus tracks that the apparent deluxe edition has. I can't find it through streaming though, so. But yeah, that's what I think about that. And on to the final album that honestly I think impressed me the most out of all these, and it's one I never had a chance to get into, but I finally do, and I think part of it's because of a couple of the features they've had on this record that end it too. That album is Polyphia. Remember that you will die. Alright guys, this band's usually mostly instrumental most of the time. However, there's a lot of some features on here that have vocals. Though some of them are like the brass tracks and Anomaly, Kill State, and what's more, bass tracks, bass tracks, I think Kill Station are DJs, maybe Anomaly or DJs as well, because for the most part this mostly starts off more instrumental. Until ABC featuring Sophia Black on vocals, Snot, I guess, with the track Fuck Around and Find Out, and and Little West and Chimera, I think, has vocals there. I think the singles, like ABC was one of them, but it was an okay feature. But to me, Ego Death was definitely one of the better ones for sure. Steve Vai definitely does his thing for sure. I think you're probably better off hearing the video. I need to do that myself, but yeah, I think a lot of people, once this album dropped, were talking way more about the Chino Moreno feature, freaking Bloodbath. I think it is Chimera. If not, All Falls Apart or F Around and Find Out. I feel like there was that's when I started hearing some chunk out of these guys, and you definitely hear plenty of chunk moments in the Chino Moreno track Bloodbath. Yeah. Hell, at this point, if the next Deftones record has any other members of Polyphia doing some solo stuff like they did with, like Jerry Cantrell did that one album that I did on Gore, I'm ready for it now. Oh boy. Oh boy. And yeah, those two tracks definitely end this album on a very high note for sure. Genesis really does have a good start. Playing God, of course, is a big classic in its own right at this point. Yeah, as far as bands that tend to have these more Their style, I guess their musical style is definitely very funky compared to most instrumental rock acts and especially those nowadays that do fit more closer into the progressive metal, progressive rock territory lately. In that djenty way, which they do sort of tend, but they're not overly abundant. They actually start incorporating more hip-hop and electronica elements in their style, up to a point that's almost bordering trip-hop and acid jazz, possibly, styles, which or at least acid jazz is a more hip-hop-y based style of jazz, fusion-y kind of a way. It's not quite progressive jazz fusion or progressive rockness yet, more so closer into hip-hop territory, I guess. Almost to a point where it could almost be jazz rappy in places, I guess. Definitely, maybe some trappy beats here and there. Bloodbath feels like Chino Moreno bringing elements of both his crosses and Deftones personifications, kind of, and even maybe Palms to a degree, kind of put together, you know? And all these things. Alongside what I had to say about the Soul Revolution album for Fire of the Gods, which I didn't get a chance to say in my review there, is that I would definitely recommend this to people outside of the rock and metal genre, as a good crossover appeal of a record. And this is the one that finally got me. For some reason, because of that other appeal, I just couldn't gravitate. But this time around, because of some of the things they chose to do, this time around, that was more closer in my wheelhouse. I decided to gravitate to this thing. And a little bit more. But yeah, I like this. I mean, let's hear some chunk, man. That djenty chunk and Bloodbath really just kind of adds to it. Just that chunk, that kind of chunk you'd expect even from Deftones, you know, but added a little bit of that. Like, that's what was great about this track, was it fused that, and ironic, given Chino released a recent song for Crosses, and the album's supposed to come out before the end of the year. Who knows if I'm going to even put that in my year-end list. I don't expect to, honestly, and nothing's impressed me that much, or hit me the way the one track they did a while back did, but neither here nor there. I like what Polyphia is doing here. I feel like if you want a good instrumental rock record that borders in some to metal territory, but isn't right, but is way more closer to more radio rock friendlier stuff as well. I mean, they got Steve Vai. I mean, of course, even the people who are rock boomers will get into this. Well, at least have something to go off of. Even the stuff that isn't more hip-hop oriented, you know? But yeah, for the most part, that's kind of their style, and Playing God's good acoustic style stuff. But yeah, I'd say if you just want a nice something to kind of just drive on through, have some good background, but, you know, still jam out to simultaneously, this is good stuff. Yeah. Screw it. And as the crossover appeal needed, that can get more, that I think it'll finally get more people in it. Plus, this album cover's sick. Come on. Very Dragon-esque. Screw it. Horns up. Horns up. Why not? What did you guys think of all these albums here to cross? Demon Hunter, Fire from the Gods, all these homies. What did you think? Leave a comment below. Let me know. Rock that like button with thrust if you must. Links description, like I said before, early in the video, links in the description below. As always, guys, keep it random. Keep it real. Keep it rocking. I will see you in the next video. Take care, y'all. And happy Halloween and stuff, which will probably date this video, but who cares? Nah!